What kind of craziness are we getting into today? Well, the Kolsch is ready to keg. Say that 10 times fast. So since the Kolsch is ready to keg, and one of the hallmarks of that style is a nice clear appearance, I thought I would use this opportunity to try gelatin for the first time. I've never done that, but it's a great way to clear up your beers. There are a couple different options. There's a synthetic one that I can't think of the name off the top of my head. And Brewlosophy did a great test of 3 different ways of doing it, and gelatin won pretty handily. So figured I'd do that. For those of you who don't know, gelatin is not vegan or vegetarian friendly. So that's something to be aware of if you have in your crowd of people who partake of your beer, there are people who are concerned about that sort of thing. You'll want to let them know, or just steer them to a different type of beer that you didn't put gelatin in. So the issue that I'm trying to address with all this craziness is, since I've kept the oxygen out of the process to this point, and I'm about to keg it and put the gelatin in when I keg it, I don't want to introduce oxygen if I don't have to. I've seen, a lot of people, you get the beer in the keg, the purged keg, and just, dump the gelatin in on top and purge it when you're done. Probably fine, but as Kolsches are particularly subject to more rapid degradation of freshness than some beers. In other words, you want to drink them quick. I figured I would try to come up with a way of keeping the oxygen out of the process. So my concept here is that I will take this normal Coke bottle there. That's just a normal emptied, cleaned out Coke bottle. Point being, you need something that'll take pressure. And then I'm going to purge it with the SodaStream machine by just, blasting CO2 in there a few times. And then when the gelatin's done, quick primer on how to do the gelatin. If you haven't done this before, you want to boil water and then let it cool to 150 degrees. Then add your gelatin. For my size batch, it's going to be a half a tablespoon. Mix it in. And then I'm going to dump that into this purged soda bottle and close it. And then I'm going to put gas on one side of it, and obviously the outflow with the tube sticking down there. And then put gas, and then do a jumper from the top here into the keg and get the gelatin in the keg that way. And I think I'm going to do it just do that first before I transfer the beer is my idea. So anyway, that's the idea. I don't know if it's going to work. As far as this soda bottle contraption, that is a carbonation T cap and then 2 carbonation caps. I just got different colors, so it's obvious which one is which. Gas on the red one, liquid on the yellow one. And then that is, I believe that is a 3/16 inner diameter hose that I stuck down in there. This is the right size to attach to the carbonation caps. So again, just to review, we'll purge that bottle, fill it with a prepared gelatin solution that, from what I've seen, will not melt the bottle if it's that cool, but we'll see. Never done this before. And then use CO2 to push that into the keg that has been obviously sanitized and purged already. So hopefully to minimize, it won't be perfect, but to minimize the amount of oxygen that we get into the keg. So here goes nothing. Step 1 is to boil, more than 4 ounces of water. I'll need 4 ounces. I just dumped, I don't know, I guess it's half a liter in there. And I'm using distilled water, so we're starting with nothing that's gonna do anything weird to the beer by adding any tap water nastiness or anything else along those lines. Got my keg with Star Sand in there getting ready. And then once this is done boiling, I will dump 4 ounces into that Pyrex measuring cup. And we will put, it's half a tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons. Half a tablespoon, which is 1.5 teaspoons. So I got my half a teaspoon measure out, and it'll be 3 of those. I don't know how that's going to map to the Knox gelatin pack. Obviously, for gelatin, you want to use unflavored. They sell gelatin on more beer and whatnot as well. If you want to go that route, I just got this at the grocery store, and we'll hope that works. And I got the rest of the bits and bobs for the transfer of the gelatin into the keg, and the transfer of the beer into the keg from the fermenter. Got those sanitizing. Got my thermometer there ready to go, and of course, as I mentioned, the SodaStream to purge that soda bottle when we're ready to do that. Water is boiling, so we'll shut this baby off. Dump 4 ounces into here. Hopefully I can do one-handed. Looks about right. Maybe a little bit high. That's okay. And then I will measure out three half teaspoons, 1.5 teaspoons of gelatin once the temperature gets down to 150, which I will measure with my handy Inkbird, and we'll show you the next step in a second. All right, got the water cooled down, and I'm mixing in the gelatin. I want to mix that pretty thoroughly. Whisk would probably be better. The whisk I have is too big for this, so that's added to my stuff I need list is a smaller whisk. But basically, you can see it's getting mixed in there. You just want it to, it will turn out a little bit thicker than water, obviously, as it is Jell-O, but just get that thoroughly mixed in there. I guess I'll just keep rolling here, and in a second we'll dump it into the, well, we'll purge the soda bottle and dump it in there. It's looking pretty good. All right, that's looking well mixed. I think there's one little chunk there. Let's try to get that if I can. Just what you wanted to watch is me mixing Jell-O, huh? All right, there's still that one chunk. Well, let me put the phone down for a second and try to deal with this, and we'll pick it up in a second. All right, that is well mixed, and that turned out to be less than one of those packets, so just for reference. Okay, so the next step would be to take my sanitized Coke bottle, and we'll get that emptied out of the sanitizer. And then the idea here is I'm just going to purge it with the soda stream. So basically just, you know, stick it under where you'd normally do the gas and hit the button, and do that a few times. I did not plan ahead. I should have put this on a tripod. I'm just going to hit stop here to do that, since it'll take 2 hands. So basically just purge, you know, as much air out of there as you can. And then I will dump the gelatin in there and put the carbonation cap on there. All right, took the time to stop and get the tripod. This will be less than ideal because I didn't plan all the angles, so I apologize. This is turning into a kind of very off-the-cuff video. But anyway, this is cool to watch, so... Idea here, again, is just get as much air as you can. This is not going to be perfect, but do that a few times. And grab my sanitized little funnels here. Thought that might make it a little bit easier, maybe not. And then we'll dump the Jell-O in there. Hopefully not melting. It's cooled off a little bit by now, but hopefully not melting this bottle. Still pretty hot, slow going. I'm probably blocking everything here. You get the idea. You've seen people pour stuff through a funnel before. Main thing I wanted to do is just share that concept and see if it even works. Because like I said, I've never done this before. It's maybe a terrible idea. But why not experiment, right? Part of the fun of homebrewing. If this ends in catastrophe, at least I'll know this is not the way to do things. All right, so we have the gelatin solution in the bottle. And next thing to check, let's throw this in the sink. Next thing to check is, did it melt the bottle? And it did not. It's warm, but didn't melt the bottle, so that's a good sign. And then we'll purge this again a little bit. While I grab my, I should have done this ahead of time, but then the idea here is we will assemble our little contraption to go on the top. So we've got this carbonation cap T, which I got on Amazon, I think, and then the other 2 things I got on Mr. Beer, but you can get them on Amazon too, just depends on what size you want. So we'll put the T cap on there as well, or first. And then before I put anything else on there, I'll purge it a little bit more. Let me put this one on first. So I just, again, got different colors to, you know, indicate what's going where. We'll put red on the gas side. Screw that on nice and tight. And get my liquid side going. Again, just a short length of 3/16 diameter tube, which makes it nice and tight, which you want to make sure there's no leakage here. Get that another quick shot of Starcene. And right before I stick that in there, we'll purge one more time. Jam that in there. So hopefully that means that, you know, most of the air is out of there. Again, not perfect, but we're starting from, you know, a less than ideal situation with, you know, you're introducing something after the fact into a closed system. So hopefully this will take care of it, and hopefully you can see that. Yeah, not bad. So basically, gelatin in the bottom, got our T-cap, purged bottle, relatively purged, and tube going down into the gelatin to get it into the keg. So that'll be the next step, is to get the keg purged and put this Jello in there. All right, and if you watched my video, the last video I did, you know, first time I did an oxygen-free thing, same deal, just using that SodaStream canister to get that was full of star sand, forcing all the star sand out into this bucket here, and once that's done, I'll release the pressure, which it will just mean it's full, it's empty of fluid, but full of CO2, and that will allow me to shoot the gelatin in there. I keep saying Jello, I probably owe royalties for that or something. Anyway, next step in a second. Things are getting a little bit, I won't say complicated, a little bit Rube Goldbergian, how about I'll put it that way at this point. But basically the next step, I've got my keg down there, it is purged. And the thing about kegs when you're purging this way is just make sure you get all the liquid out, kind of tip it around, make sure everything goes over to that dip tube on the outside, so that you are sure to get, especially with torpedo kegs, the thing goes straight down. So just tip things at an angle and make sure you're not getting anything but gas coming out at the end. You don't want any liquid in there if possible. Still pressurized, I'll release the pressure there in a second. But this thing, so basically I hook the SodaStream canister up to the contraption on top of the bottle of gelatin. And then on the other side I just have a jumper, and that's the outline, obviously where the gelatin solution is going to go up that tube, out the other end of that jumper, into the keg. The other thing to note is that you want to put this into the outside of the keg. So I'll flip that around a second, because the outside is where the dip tube is, and you want it just going straight down to the bottom, ideally. So that'll be the next step here. Okay, with the whole contraption hooked up to the keg, then we apply some gas to get the gelatin, forced out of the bottle into the bottom of the keg, and we're going in the out. The keg has no pressure in it. It's been purged, sanitized, but no air in there, no pressure either, to facilitate this thing happening. So, never done this before. Let us see what happens. I hope this works. Just turning the gas on this thing. Move that bottle around to get the Jello up in the tube. That length is a little bit off. Oh boy. All right, well, let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna have to stop recording to tip this up differently. All right, so we have gelatin. Keep saying the wrong thing. In the keg. I did have to kind of manipulate the bottle, twist it around. I ended up taking it off there after I was done before I hit record again. But basically, the moral of the story here is get stiffer tubing, probably. The EVA barrier tubing that I had for the duotite stuff was not the right size for the carbonation cap, and I had an adapter, but then you got one more thing sticking down in there. Anyway, that didn't quite work like I thought it would, but just tipping the bottle around and giving it more gas got all that in here. So now we have a keg that has gelatin in the bottom, and we will go ahead and transfer our beer into it. All right, last step. This is the quart low Kolsch, I'm calling it, because my volume came out short for some reason. Mismeasurement on my part to begin with. So anyway, it looks pretty decent at this point, but again, we're just going to use a little bit of gas on there to transfer it down into the keg. So let's get, it probably has some pressure on it still. Check here. Hard to read, but it's got 3 on it still from cold crashing. So I think let's open the spigot and see what happens. Normally I'd have a blow off tube of some sort, but since I know for 100% certainty that is low, I have no chance of going over here and again going the outside so that you're siphoning it down to the bottom. Let's just open it and see what happens. I didn't clamp these. They should be tight. We'll see. I better get down here and grab this one, actually, just in case. I'm not too worried about this one. I don't know where my clamps are. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Beer's flowing nice and at a nice pace, looks like. And I'm going to turn the gas up a little bit. Might be losing a little bit of pressure here. Yeah. It is moving. I don't know if you can see it very well on the on the camera, but we'll let that get transferred. Maybe I'll try a time lapse. This may take a couple of minutes. I'll just stop and come back when it's done. Obligatory aftermath shot. One thing I forgot to mention is if you aren't going to use a blow-off tube when you're doing the transfer like that, you do want to pop your pressure release valve and leave it open, because otherwise eventually the keg will fill up and the pressure will equalize and your beer will stop moving. So sorry I didn't mention that step. Normally I'd have a blow-off tube just in case there was a little bit more beer in the fermenter than would go in the keg. In this case, I knew that wasn't true, so I just popped that thing up, turned it to the side, and that worked out just fine. I guess lastly, I will take a gravity reading, see where we wound up on the low Kolsch. But I think that's about it for this video. Hope that was instructive, enjoyable, or watching me do stuff for the first time and flail around was entertaining at least. See you in the next one.